Good morning once again. We are out here under this fantastic infrastructure. I was just thinking about all the electricity that's pumping through these power lines to go to people's houses to power their internet so they can get on Facebook and yell at each other. What a wonderful use of technology, the modern age. Speaking of Facebook, though, I got on there last night, which is a mistake. I know every time I do, it's a mistake. But I casually saw that, accidentally saw that one of my old friends had a picture of Trump as his profile picture. And I'm like, no way that this is... It just boggles my mind. That people are still just in love with Trump. So I was like, this can't be real. And this is just a picture of Trump hauling 2 things of milk, like he's the milkman or some like, so yeah, that was real. And that guy is totally in this, in it to win it. But then that just began this whole, like, I was looking around just seeing what there was to see. And my mother is on there just talking about, like, when have conservatives ever, like, blocked off roadways or taken guns to protests or done any non-peaceable protest, yada, yada, yada. When have conservatives not behaved anything other than admirably? It's like, oh, the pain. It actually just hurts. What was another good one? Oh, yeah, she's like, posted another meme about how come when Renee Good dies, everybody's all like, ooh, but she was out there, like, obstructing justice. Whereas when this other lady dies, it's all quiet. Anyway, it's just good stuff like that. You know, you get on Facebook and you're just like, this is why I don't see you. It's like, if you grew up before the age of the internet, imagine, like, you get into a scuffle with your family and then eventually, you know, your brain might just kind of naturally forget and forgive, and you would go back and just continue to put yourself into situations like that. But we live in the modern age where you can just get on Facebook again and be like, yes, it's all coming back to me. You haven't changed at all. So anyway, that's just great. Let's see what else. Oh, my cousin in Maine was all just like commenting on this meme about how 86% of Mainers support ICE coming into Maine, which I looked that up, and that's not even a real statistic. Apparently it's more against ICE than in favor, but that doesn't stop anybody. And his Golden Globe comment was, and of that 14%, a majority of them are foreigners who need to go home. And it's like, you're a foreigner. I mean, from the US, but not from Maine. So, oh my gosh, it's just insane. So yeah, I looked around on there, went crazy, and I left. But anyway, that is in other news. So I have been trying to quantify this idea that I brought up in the last one and possibly the one before about, like, the power that the people have, in which I've kind of condensed to, like, knowledge, but it's not just knowledge. It's the desire for things to get better, right? For people to have, you know, better chances to enjoy a happy life, right? For everyone, not just for the few. And so there's certain beliefs that further that goal, and then there are certain beliefs that go against that goal. So it isn't just knowledge in itself that pushes us to progress. Because you could argue that the stuff coming out of the White House and right-wing media these days is knowledge, but it's not really knowledge. So I was trying to like actually map the pathways of information, like looking at like, okay, well, what if you have actual like experimental data, or even just stuff that you see with your eyes or like directly encounter, that is much more reliable source of information than the hearsay. So I was kind of trying to map that and be like, what is the information loss of... Anyway, this just wasn't a viable option, I don't think, because I was really just curious about like, yeah, information that is trustworthy and that comes from reliable sources versus information that isn't, which I think it would be great. Maybe somebody can do like their PhD on this. Like, I feel like it would be a big project to try and take, I mean, that's the thing. It's hard to even quantify the, like, what is the question? So that's why I ended up kind of taking a step back, being like, well, there are just multiple kinds of beliefs. There's the kind of belief that makes you an activist towards like furthering equality and just freedom and yeah, enriching people's lives. Then there's kind of like a middle neutral group of people who are just like, and I do include a middle neutral group because I think that that's almost like a big portion of the United States right now that just doesn't want to do anything, that just thinks like, why are the left and the right bickering? Can't we just not? Can't we just like pretend everything is fine and get along? I don't know. The people that don't want to do anything and they think things are fine. And then there's the people that are like actively just pushing like a retrograde narrative on the United States and elsewhere. So we don't, yeah, going backwards, I guess. So anyway, there's these three kind of groups, and the information that each has can kind of enable them to do, can empower them in certain ways. And so what I realized is like this whole MAGA movement or whatever, it's like it was already like the same group of people that existed before, but like their beliefs were hijacked to become like extreme. And so what was more benign before suddenly just was like I mean, they also just own the government right now, so of course they're gonna have more power. But it is, I mean, yeah, I was talking about this with my brother, how during like, well, right now we still have the right just out there, the left so annoyed, and they're just on Facebook even more, and just everywhere, even more or equally so to the left, who are complaining about what the right is doing. But the right is still on there complaining about the left complaining. It's like, we just have a bunch of complainers in this country that like to complain regardless of who's in power. And it's just like, I mean, I didn't like, what can I say? Really, most of anybody in politics these days. But there's a clear difference between the level of just trash that you get with like Trump and MAGA and Biden. I mean, during those days, I didn't have anything to say. It's like, other than just be like, come on, Biden. Like, what are you doing? Just occasionally. But like, I don't know. It's just crazy to me. And it's the same thing with like everything. I noticed this too when Roe v. Wade was overturned. Because my mom was super like, anti-choice. So it's just like, you finally get what you want and you're still complaining just as much. You're still out there just as much as before. It's like the whole world could do what you want it to do and you would still just complain. It's like you're just, anyway. So, yes, I would say this whole right side kind of got hijacked into this extremist sort of crazy town. And the funny thing is that they don't maybe even understand that they've changed, which is absolutely ridiculous. To think that they've been the ones to remain consistent and the left has gone off. And all of NATO and just all of our allies around the world who are just like, what are you doing, United States? We're all the ones who have gone off the rails. But MAGA, they have stayed consistent and they're just the same as before. And yeah, it's just insane. So their beliefs get hijacked and the left is basically powerless right now, but not actually. Not totally. That's part of one of the beliefs I think that is important for having power, is believing that you do have power, at least as a movement. It may not be individually, but to throw in your own towel and say, I don't have power by myself. It's like, well, you do in the group that you're in. And so if we don't throw in our own towels, then together we actually do have the ability to do things. So don't throw in your towel. So that all just kind of touches on the belief side of this. But, and like how effective we are as like people, even when we band together. But I wanted to compare that with like the wealth inequality. It's not just wealth inequality though. So my example is like, 2,000 years ago, 1,000 years ago, as a king used to be like, okay, I need to go collect my tariffs out there. And so I need to employ my army of swordsmen to go out there and get my tariffs, right? So you're kind of depending on individual people who have the beliefs that they are basically powerless, and so they have to kind of submit to you to have any sort of life of their own. And so they're, as a king, you're highly dependent on your people. Whereas compared to nowadays, like, you can basically just have the good old nuclear launch codes, and all of this stuff is already set up. And so one madman can just blow up the world, and doesn't even need like hardly any convincing. He doesn't really require the beliefs that this king of yore required. So anyway, that's the comparison, but I think it goes all the way through. Like, you get like wealth throughout our whole society. I mean, like the power that Elon Musk has these days, like the power that like one rich person can have, just basically technological advancement does not distribute evenly. And so the wealthy and powerful end up with a extra large proportion of it. So even though we at the bottom have like refrigerators, some of us, it's like that does not compensate for the tanks and the aircraft that you get at the top. Like, so I was just thinking about like how we're kind of in a sketchy era going forward. We're like, yes, we do have power as the people now, but you can see that sort of almost diminishing, like, especially if we get into this like new sort of drone automated warfare. It's like the nuclear launch codes, but on crack, because if you don't need people, if you don't need any beliefs at all, and you just have a little remote control to subjugate your people, then the power of the people diminishes even more. And so it's a very scary time to think that that could happen, but we're not there yet. And so we I still believe that we have a good chance. I still have hope in us. And that is the one thing that I will say from all of this catastrophe, is that maybe people are waking up a little bit. I mean, yeah, after checking the temperature on Facebook, it's just like, yes, people are, even people who normally aren't political, are like, what is going on? And I don't know if that's necessarily good and it's pushing them towards the right beliefs. But we are at a time when we need to be asking what is going on. We can't just be sitting in the middle and saying everything is fine, because if not today, then at some point in the future, the power of the people, even banded together, even if they all had the right beliefs and they were all aligned together and they all thought they could make a difference, if you're up against tanks and drones and nukes, and the supply chains don't necessarily depend on you, things are more automated, then it's just like, yeah, it gets a little bit scary. And so I think that we not only need to address this situation, which is critical right now, but we can't just stop with that. We need to address this problem. I was trying to make a graph of like, yeah, the technological advancement and its distribution, and these beliefs that the people have and the power that the people have through these beliefs. And to show like, because yeah, historically they would be pitted up against each other and kind of balance in some way. And technology just seems to be going up exponentially fast, whereas I don't think the power of the people goes up that fast, because a lot of it is just their knowledge and beliefs. And well, these days also, yeah, just wealth inequality. Anyway, so I think we kind of navigated around this a little bit. We kind of took a little gander at some of these ideas. I still haven't been able to really quantify it or define exactly what I mean well enough, so we might come back at some point and try to define what I'm talking about better. But I do think I did it, and I did something, I guess. So anyway, that's where I see it right now, and I'll talk to you guys later. Keep your towel in the game, and I will see you next time.